Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from simpleprogrammer.com. I got a question here about speaking. How did you get started, start getting invited to speak? I've spoken at quite a few events, done a lot of keynotes and things like that, but getting started can be difficult here. So, and this is actually kind of a double question here. I'll address more on the speaking side, but this question is from Jared. He says, I'm interested in teaching Pluralsight courses. In my research, it appears the best track to be able to do this would be to build my personal brand and getting invited to speak at conferences. I've started your blogging course. If you're wondering what he's talking about, I've got a blogging course that teaches you how to create a blog to boost your career. You can check that out here. And he said, I've started your blogging course and I intend to start building up my brand. I'm curious, how did you begin speaking at conferences? How did you begin doing Pluralsight courses? Any tips or advice that will help towards becoming a Pluralsight instructor would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. So let's talk about, speaking and getting on the speaking circuit. So there's something that I always think about, which is sort of my philosophy on speaking, which I think more developers should take, which is that when I was in acting class, one of my acting instructors, he basically told me, he said, John, you never want to get a job as an extra. Because he said, if you get a job as an extra, you may think that that's a good way to get into the acting industry because, you'll get on a lot of sets. Maybe you'll even get a SAG card because you'll say a few lines. But if you do that, you will never be an A player, right? You will never get cast as a lead role because the directors, the producers, all of the crew, they're going to see you as an extra, and they're going to recognize you as an extra, and they're not going to want to have a leading role person as someone who was an extra in something else. He said, and so you never want to appear that way. And so I sort of internalize that to a lot of things that I do, and one of them is speaking. So I won't go and submit to events, right? I won't put out an abstract. If someone invites me to an event and they're willing to pay me, then I'll go speak. So I've kind of set myself aside as a premium speaker, and I charge a lot of money to go and speak. And so I think that's the approach that I recommend, right? And I'm sort of working backwards from here. So I'm going to tell you how to get into this, but I want to tell you the mindset that I think is more valuable. Now, some people go in the speaking circuit and they speak at every event and they submit abstracts and they basically do it on their own dime because they're consultants, right? And I've mentioned this before, but if you speak to a large audience and you get a few clients from the deal, it can be worth it. So it's a lead generation for them and it's worth their time, and I understand that. But they're never going to be paid a lot of money to speak, even though they're really good, even though they've spoken a lot, because they're so available, right? You want people that get selected to do keynotes generally are not as available, or that are going to get paid a lot of money to go and speak. That's not always the case, but the reason why I'm starting there is because you want to figure out what your goal is. And so, even if you become a speaker, right, it's not necessarily going to mean that you're going to be able to do Pluralsight courses. If you're trying to get the value out of being a speaker, it's going to be if you're kind of one of those premium speakers, right? Then it's going to be worth your time. It's going to be worth your money. So now let's back up, right? After saying that, I just want to make sure that you understand that there's those two paths, right? There's the premium speaker, and then there's the speaker who works really hard to get the speaking gigs. And when you get started, you're going to have to definitely speak for free, right? You're definitely going to have to. Especially if you want to use that to build a brand. So if you wanted to do that, the best thing to do would be to go out and to go and speak at free events like code camps, right? I still speak at some code camps, and I do it mostly for the community, the local community where I'm at. You can go and you can speak at user groups. That's going to give you opportunities. You can go and, if you want to get some experience speaking, you can join a group like Toastmasters, and you can speak at your own company and give presentations on topics that you're learning about and teach them to other people. So that gives you some opportunities, and that's going to give you experience. But when but you're never going to get onto the bigger circuit until you build the brand. So again, this is the reason why I talked about being a premium speaker from the beginning is because there's values to having the brand. You're never going to get access to those bigger circuits and get paid to speak until you already have the audience, so you already have the brand. So don't think of speaking as a way to build the brand, right? It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be like being the extra, and it's not going to give you any very much monetary value, and it's just not going to be an effective way to build your brand. Instead, build your brand. You know, I don't know if you've already gotten my course. I've got a course on how to market yourself as a software developer, and in that course, I focus on things that are going to scale much larger than speaking. Remember, when you're speaking, also you're only speaking to, what is it, maybe a few hundred people usually, unless it's a huge room, which it just isn't going to happen when you're starting out. So instead, focus on things like building your blog up, right? Creating YouTube videos would be fine. Getting on podcasts, right? All the things I talk about there, maybe doing magazine articles. Those are going to be easier, and those are going to scale more. Then you have this brand. Now with this brand, if you want to go and do Pluralsight courses, yeah, it's going to be easier for you to get accepted as a Pluralsight author and create courses. You know, if you wonder what I'm talking about, Pluralsight, you can check out my courses. I've done actually 55 courses for Pluralsight, but you can go there and check out the list of them. But once you have that brand, then also if you want to become a speaker and you want to become a premium speaker and actually get paid $5,000, $10,000 to go deliver a keynote, then you're going to be able to do that. So that's the approach that I would take, because it's a lot more effective. I know people that have been speaking, that are on the speaking circuit in the software development track, they've been speaking for 10 years, and they don't get paid to speak. They're always going to be extras, and maybe they'll become B players in the speaking circuit, but they're never going to become the person that's getting paid $10,000 or $20,000 to go give a keynote, because they're so available, and it took them a long time to build that brand. You look at them now and you're like, okay, well, they built up the brand obviously by speaking, and that's valuable, but what you don't realize is that's a really long and slow way to do it. And it costs them a lot of time and money. It's not the best way. So if you want to ultimately build a brand and do Pluralsight courses, don't focus on speaking. Focus on the other things. If you ultimately want to be a speaker, again, focus on the other things. Do some speaking, some free speaking at code camps and events like that, but don't go and submit abstracts to conferences, and don't be the person that goes to every single conference whether they pay you or not. Instead, create the brand, and then you can go into the premium. Get the experience speaking to develop the skill for free, but then cut it off and don't, and make sure that people come to you, and they will come to you when you've built enough brand. And to answer your question, finally, how did I get into the speaking? Like I said, I learned the skills from speaking at free things like code camps and user groups, but then as I built the brand, naturally people came to me and they said, hey, can you come speak at this event? And what I did was I said, well, what are you going to pay? And if they said, well, nothing, then I said, well, then sorry, no, my time is extremely valuable. And then I turned down a lot of people, and then people started coming and saying, well, we'll pay you, $5,000. Okay, well, I'll go do that then. And then I started turning down people at $5,000, and I said, no, my new number is $10,000. And then people started coming at that. And so that's the value of being on the premium side of it. Now it's worth my time to speak, as opposed to me spending, there's tons of people, tons of developers out there that go and speak at all these events, and they spend their own dime to do it. Maybe they get their travel paid, but they spend a lot of time doing it. So anyway, I went a couple of different directions there, because I feel like the real core of your question is, how can I be successful in building my brand? and that's what I want to help you do. So anyway, if you like these videos, if you want to build your brand, if you want to learn more tips to boost your career, just click the subscribe button below and you'll get the videos. I do 2 to 3 videos a day, if you can believe it or not. And if you click subscribe, you'll get to see them and watch the ones you like. You don't have to watch them all, but watch the ones you like. Anyway, if you like this video, click subscribe. Talk to you next time.